Hello, and welcome to the Fat Squirrel Speaks. Today is April 22nd, and this is episode 106. I'm your hostess, Amy Beth, also known as the Fat Squirrel, on Ravelry and the Fat Squirrel, SQRL, on Instagram. You can find this show on our blog, thefatsquirrel.com. You can find it on YouTube. There's probably a channel, but if you don't just Google Fat Squirrel YouTube because, well, go ahead. You're going to get lots of fat squirrels eating things. Not a bad idea. However, if you actually want to find this show and you prefer to watch it on YouTube, which I'm beginning to see the advantages of, because if you... Okay, I just realized I'm totally crooked. Mink. Is that better? Now I'm crooked the other way. Mink. Is that healthy? Can you tell? Oh my gosh, I need a leveler thing. So the YouTube, if you can't watch, or if you don't want to watch on like a Downcast or an iTunes or something, the YouTube will actually hold your place, which was my big thing when I was watching blogs via live internet-iness, which I don't know why I did that, but whatever. Because you couldn't save your place if you just watch and for example, if you watch on thefatsquirrel.com, when you close that thing, you lose your place. And I had a little person at home at the time and I could not sit down and watch 40 contiguous minutes. Or continuous. Contiguous works, right? Of a show because I would have to, so that holds your place in the YouTube. So that's nice. Or, did I say iTunes? Did I say that? Maybe. Or the things that iTunes makes happen, like Downcast. There was an issue last week where some people had some trouble downloading via iTunes or the things it does. That was just, don't worry. It was just a temporary issue with the, I use a place called Podcast Garden to host the iTunes feed, and they just had a hiccup. So there should not be any long-reaching effects of that switch over we did a month or two ago. I don't know how long ago it was now, where we lost blip feeding to iTunes. Don't worry, it's okay. It's just sometimes it happens. But thank you for letting me know. Okay. Is that all the stuff? I think that's all the administrative-y stuff. Hi, how are you? Did you have a good week? Did you have a good week? All of the things are blooming here. Well, not all of the things, but all of the bulby things are blooming, which is very exciting. We had some snow. Was that this week or was that last week? So there's snow on the bulby things, which was a little distressing, but everything was okay. The trees are starting to bloom. Any minute now, I will be unable to breathe, but whatever. It's pretty. We have an air filter. Shenanigans. Last weekend, I went to the Fiber event, which is a little fiber festival in Greencastle, Indiana, which is my current living state. It's not my home state. Ohio is my home state, but it's my current living state, the Indiana. So Greencastle, the Fiber event, is our largest fiber festival in Indiana, which is not saying much, quite frankly. Now, when I went to the Fiber event, it was my first actual fiber festival as a spinner, because if you don't know, fiber festivals there's yarn, and at the larger ones, like Rhinebeck and I'm assuming Maryland Sheep and Wool, and probably the Michigan one, which I totally want to go to this year. Oh my gosh, can I go? I don't know. There are more yarns and things at those. There is some yarn at our little one in Greencastle, but overall, fiber events are very largely spinner focused. So I had been to, not this one, but I had been to another one in Indiana before when I was not a spinner, and I was totally unimpressed. Because that was also before I believed in hand-dyed yarn. Because I just didn't know about its awesomeness back then. So, I went to my very first actual fiber event and was like, yeah. But the fiber event is the first one I went to as a spinner, and I went and it was amazing. There was so much stuff It was overwhelming to my spirit. And then I went to Rhinebeck. Now it seems very tiny, but I still like to go. And it's very tiny. It's not very tiny. It's smallish. It has like an actual, like what it's at a fairgrounds. So it has like one fairground style size barn and then another fairground and a half size barn and little bits of things in between, but not much. It was also Easter weekend this weekend. So that may have influenced how many vendors were there a little bit. I noticed there were slightly less vendors there than normal, and it also seemed less crowded. But it may have been because we were there earlier than we normally are. Neither here nor there. It's still fun to go to. I wish I had gotten to spend more time there. I apologize. I was hoping to see a few people. However, we had a person in our party who had to be back in town earlier than I anticipated, and the people I went with needed to eat food before that could happen. I know the world doesn't like fat people, but it's nice to have a reserve. That's all I'm saying. If I don't get to eat at noon or 1, I'm totally fine. I can make it to the next mealtime. No worries. But you people who don't have reserves, you got to eat when it's time to eat. I don't know what's going on with you. Maybe not you specifically, I'm just saying in general. But anyway, it was still fun, even though I didn't get to spend there very much time there. And really, in reality, it's probably not a terrible thing that I didn't get to spend too much time there because it means I did not spend all of my dollars, which was very exciting. And if I had spent any more time there, I would have definitely gone back to Briar Rose and definitely gone back to Fiber Optic probably. And then I would have been poor-ish than I am now. You know what I mean? So it's not terrible. I got what I needed, which are the little O-rings that go on the caps of the Lazy Kate that's on the Ladybug. That was what I went in for. I was like, I need that 75-cent option. Because let's face it, you can buy anything online, but I hate to buy a 75-cent thing online and spend $4 on shipping. Right. And I'm sure if I like took that little O-ring to a hardware store, they might be able to find them for me there, but obviously I haven't done that yet. So there you go. So I got those. And I did get some Cormo blend from my Cormo people that I get stuff from, the Westfield Woolies people. I love Cormo. And it was very lanolin-y and sheepy. Yeah, exciting. And then I got some random fiber. It was super cheap. Now, I don't normally buy fiber because it's cheap. Because, what's the point in that? Like, if it's not going to be good, then, like, you're spending all this time. It's not worth it. Like when you're a beginner, it's one thing. But after you've done something, you're like, I'm not going to mess this up. It's not like a huge investment. I should just buy good stuff. Well, at the, what are they called? Southern Ohio Valley? That seems like a lot of description. But I think so. They're the ones that Mike Rowe went to on Dirty Jobs once. Did you know that? He totally did there. They wash all their fleeces in washing machines. Anyway, they had some wool that I was just drawn to because of the coloring. It was very pretty. And then I touched it and I was like, ooh, I really like this. It's very soft. And then I looked at the price. Well, I was looking to see what kind of wool it was, and it just said wool. And it was only 50 cents an ounce. It was only 50 cents an ounce. So I'm like, why is this only 50 cents an ounce? Is it made of garbage? Well, it was super. Hi, I'm coming really close to you because I'm getting a sample. Hello. Give them a hug. It was super cheap because I'm pretty sure it was probably wool from meat sheep, because the staple length was super short and it felt very downy, like a lot of meat breeds do, which I love the way that feels though. Do you know what I mean? It had just a little bit of lanolin in it. It was super crimpy and it was a lovely brown. And I was just like, oh, I love it. And then it was like 50 cents an ounce. So I was like, oh, it's garbage. I'm only out. I may have bought 1.5 pounds of it. But only out $12. So I can use it for stuffing of dark colored stuffed animals. Or I could felt something crazy with it. So then I got home and I was like, what have I done? I've spent $12, well, no, it's like $12, but I just have taken up space of something that I may not use. So I had to spend a little sample, and I did. And actually, I'm totally down with it. I like it. I may not want to spin a sweater's worth of it, but like it'd be great for hats and stuff. Whee! So there's my little sample. I just pulled off a little bit and then chain flined. But it feels really nice. I like it. It makes a lovely mustachio. Oh man, if I had some glue, it would really make a great mustachio. And I dig it. And it feels great and springy. So what I'm saying is that you should not buy wool because it's cheap, but you should also not buy a that's right? The double negatives, that's right. You should not buy a wool because it's cheap. You should buy it because you like it or you don't like it. And again, it's a very short staple, but I think it's gonna be fine. I think it'll be festive. It'll be rustic, but still soft. So I bought that. And then I have to show you the other thing I bought. The other thing I bought was more expensive than both of those things I just told you about. The 8 ounces of the Cormo Cross, I think, was like $16 plus $24. Okay, it's the same price. No, $12. It is less. That was $28 I spent on fiber. I did good, right? It's like I'm thrifty or something. But I have to show you this because it's awesome. There was this little lady there, and I say lady, that makes it sound like she was an elderly woman. There was this young girl there. I have to show you her picture. I don't know if you're able to see it for real. But this is her rabbit. Well, this is one of her 10 rabbits. And do you see her up there in that corner? Do you see her? Do you see that she's the Wendy from the Wendy's combined with like Little House on the Prairie? So cute. She's darling. Do you see how cute she is? Okay, not only does she look cute, but she exuded cuteness. Do you know what I mean? Now, as I discussed with some friends, she could totally be like a meth dealer and I would have no idea. But if she is, she's also a good actress because look how cute she is. Oh my gosh, she's so cute. You can totally see the reflection of like my IKEA children's stool camera setup. Can you see that in the iPad? That's classy. That's how I do things, people. I'm fancy like that. Anyway, she's so super cute I could die. And did you see how cute her rabbit was? Do you see that, rabbits? I don't even like rabbits, people. I don't like rabbits. I had a rabbit when I was a child and it was kind of a jerk. It may not have been the rabbit's fault. It may have been that I was a jerk. But that rabbit bit and it chewed on cords. It was not a nice rabbit. And it never would snuggle with you. This rabbit was just like, well, I'm doing that with my mouth, but really it's mainly their nose that moves. She's doing that. Sitting there being super fat and fluffy. It was like me, only a rabbit. And then it doesn't like its brush. You know, like its brush. Because this is a fiber rabbit. It's an Angora rabbit. So she takes the little brush, like it's like a pet brush, like you would use for a dog. And she puts it next to the rabbit. The rabbit springs to life. Springs. It's a rabbit. Do you get it? It's spring, it's summer. Do you get it? It's a season thing and a rabbit thing and it's a motion thing all at once. It springs to life, picks up the brush in its little rabbit mouth with its, and then like, but it's up on 2 feet and then it throws the rabbit brush down. It does not like its brush. I specifically have a dog that doesn't shed people. I was so tempted to buy one of those rabbits. She didn't have any there for sale. It's a good thing she didn't because I might have come home with a rabbit. She said it'll snuggle with you. Totally just sits on you. Just sits on your lap. It's a rabbit. It'll be covered in Angora forever. But the reason the rabbit is there is because A, she loves rabbits and she's super cute. She's Treen Acres Rabbitry. Like Green Acres, only Treen. I didn't ask her what that was about. It's probably her last name. And she sells English Angora rabbits and needle felted art. Did you see her cute, like, homemade business card? Do I love her? Yes, I do. She better be there next year. She's so cute. I told her she should have a tip jar for that rabbit. Now, she did also sell some things that she had made from her spun rabbit wool. But I couldn't buy any of those things because I'm a knitter, right? I'm like, I can't buy giant mittens that I can never use because that would be ridiculous. So instead, I bought something much less ridiculous. Are you ready? Do you remember that needle felted art? Don't worry, there's no bunny. Although that would be so exciting. Do you remember that needle felted art part of her business card? Bam! I'm not lying to you people. I'm not lying. I totally bought. This is her frame. It needs to be changed out. But because bless her heart, she sold this for so cheap. I can't believe she even put a frame on it. Bless her. Oh my God. Do you see this? It's made of wool. It's made of wool. In fact, based off of Vincent van Gogh painting, how cute is she? This is made with silk, bamboo, angora, many kinds of sheep wool, and beads to make the stars sparkle. Are you stinking kidding me? Do you see the town? Do you see the town? Do you see it? Are you seeing it? Oh my gosh. I had to buy something. She was so cute. I need to support her. If she would have had a tip jar, I would have just given her a tip. But maybe I'm glad she didn't because I got this instead. I'm a sucker for somebody with a cute face. And I don't mean cute like you know what I mean? I mean cute because she was cute. She was rocking her cute self. Gingers, bull bangs, 2 braids. Oh my gosh, I love her. And also, this is pretty stinking good, right? So that was my trip to the Wool Festival, the Fiber event. It was awesome. There were also sheeps in diapers, baby sheeps. I'm pretending that they were bottle fed and that's why they had to come in a playpen in their diapers, and not just because the people who own them are demented. Let's go with that former, right? Not the latter. What else? There was something else that was terribly cute there, and I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was really just her and her rabbit that just took up a whole bunch of cuteness in my head. There was also, I almost bought, there was a Bigfoot completely sculpted of wool. I almost bought it. I knew I couldn't have it in my house because my house is this big. And I'm this big. And those two things, there's no room for a Bigfoot in there. None. I almost bought it just so I could give it away as a prize. Because I just wanted to own it for a minute. I still regret not buying it. If I'd stayed around any longer, I think I would have. It better not be there next year. Or maybe it should be. Oh my gosh, it was awesome. Like, it had like the Neanderthal, like, furrowed brow. Like the deep iris, you know, the very big brow. And it had like coiled wool, needle felted down to make the ridginess. And like a very like nostrily, like, but well proportioned nose. It had teeth. And then its whole self was like locks. Like brown, woolly locks. It was amazing. It was amazing. I couldn't take a picture of it because I was afraid that was rude. And I think it would have been. But if I could just send you my mental image right now, I can still remember vividly. Can you see it? Oh, I wish you could see it. It was amazing. Only had all the dollars in the world. Dang it. Anyway, those are my shenanigans. If you live in Indiana, Connor Prairie is having their Sheer Madness next weekend. This weekend. What is that, April 26th? Did you know that? I didn't know that. I actually heard an ad about it on Pandora. How random is that? So I don't know if I can go. But they're doing all their sheep shearing and all their fiber demonstrations. So how cute is that? That's happening this weekend. And then I was thinking it was next weekend, but it's later than that. May 17th, 18th. I think it's 17th and 18th. It's either 18th and 19th or 17th and 18th, is the Kentucky Sheep and Wool Festival outside of Lexington. I don't know, maybe I should go to that. I can't decide. I've never been to that one before. It has a pretty decent vendor list. I'm kind of excited. People in Kentucky usually know how to do a festival. Usually know how to do a fair. It seems like it has more of an ag component than the Indiana one. Like there seems to be like more agricultural tie-in, which intrigues me because there might be some fellas in my Carhartts. I can get behind that. Okay, now I should talk about some stuff. Let's do spinning. I feel like there's something else to talk about, but I don't think there was really. This week we will do spinning, works in progress. We'll be doing some knitting, and then I think that we will have time to do a couple of mailbag questions. That's my thought. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so I'm still working on that blue South Down from, it's not Chubby Cloud, that's not right. Some sort of cloud. Chubby Cloud is bag maker. She's cute bags. Anyway, I'm still working on that. However, I needed like a palette cleanser. Not really, I was just flighty. Surprise! So, I have 8 ounces, because I'm crazy. I have 8 ounces of Falkland from 3 Waters Farm. And this is the Summer Morning colorway. So, I'm not going to show you up close because it's not going to come through. But it's 3 Waters Farm. Bam, that's them. They're on Etsy. This is what it looks like in roving form, or top form, excuse me. It's falling apart. Dang it! The reason it's rolled that way is because I was supposed to start at that other end. So, it's like this. Isn't it lovely? So this is 4 ounces of it. So this is the other 4 ounces of it. That's right, I spun 4 ounces this week. Oh, sassy. So there it is. I'm not doing anything fancy. Spinning it, I'm trying to spin it the same as I was spinning the South Down, so that while I would have a color and fiber change, it would not change the spinning style too much, which I think I did okay. It's gonna be pretty, right? 3 Waters Farm is always beautiful, and then I mess it up. It's always beautiful in roving form, and then whenever I do it, I just mess it up. I get it all muddy. Just muddy. So this time I'm trying to just spin straight from I'm not splitting it. My theory is that they might have shorter color repeats than some other people because they do put a lot of different colors. This actually has fewer colors than I normally pick. Not all of their things are like that, but I usually pick the one that has 28 different colors in it. I might also pick the one that has a lot of gray in it, which might be why it's kind of muddied. I don't know. That appeals to me, I can't help it. But anyway, so I'm not sure if it's because the color repeats are slightly shorter than they are in some other fibers, but I always mess them up. So I'm just going to spin them straight from the roving. I'm not splitting it, I'm not doing anything funky. And that's the reason there's a special end that I pulled out, because I laid the rovings down next to each other and tried to make sure there wasn't too much matchup. So that I would still have barber pulling, because I enjoy barber pulling. That's what I'm saying. So that's what it's spinning. Knitting. I finished my Bunny by Susan B. Anderson out of yarn from Moonshine, which is no longer a thing. Moonshine is totally a thing. The hipsters are taking over Moonshine. But the fiber company is no longer business. It was given to me by Worst Rate. There it is. She's done. I think it's a he. I can't decide. Now, you'll notice that he's a little smushed because my child has loved him quite a bit this week. Ta-da! I didn't put his nose on because I kind of dig him without the nose. I don't know. I haven't decided. His ears are shorter than Susan's, Ms. Beautiful Susan B. Anderson. This is the mini sock yarn bunny. You'll notice he's not mini. If you did not watch last week, he is not knit in sock yarn. He is in fact knit in something bulky. If you would like to know how I sized him up, you can just watch last week's episode. Yes, the only thing that is not proportion, I think, are his ears. I think everything else is about what the proportions of the small guy would be, except the ears, which are too short. But I was afraid to run out of yarn. I didn't, but I was afraid. He is well loved. Yay that! Okay, next finished object. This is an object that you have not seen in a while. I started it shortly before I went to Paula's retreat, the Knitting Pipeline retreat. And I decided with my Three Waters Farm hand spun that I was going to make a Piper's Journey, but not with the Piper's Journey border. Because the Piper's Journey is by Paula Emmons Feasley. If you've never knit it before, go buy it and then knit it. It's awesome. It is a crescent shape, and then the border is applied. So the body is worked this way, but then the border's worked this way. I was not sure for hand spun that I would want to do that because hand spun naturally stripes. And I didn't think I would want the stripes on the body to go this way and then the stripes on the border to go this way. Does that make sense? Also, the stripes would be way thicker because it's much shorter row repeats. So, I've been knitting on this for quite some time and just kind of like here and there, but I haven't showed it to you in a long time. But I finished it because I just had to. It was one of those situations where the ball never got smaller. The yarn cake just, it's the magic lasagna pan. It never got smaller. So I just worked on it a lot this weekend. And so what I decided to do is just do a feather and fan, which I know is like low tech, but whatever. It works. It just gives it a little bit of motion down yonder. And here, I'll fold it in half and see if you can see how big it is. Oh, there. So, it's rather long. I haven't woven in the ends, but I did faux block it. I'll be right back! Haha! I did sort of block it, and I'll show you how I sort of blocked it in a minute. But anyway, I'm very pleased with it. It's pretty, right? Just like soft and muted and nice. This is Three Waters Farm BFL Silk. See, it totally got kind of muddy, but it's still pretty. If I didn't know what it looked like in roving form, or I say roving, it's really top, but roving is just like the generic term, so I apologize. But if you didn't know what it looked like then, you would, I would still be pleased with this yarn if I had not known. I would be like, oh, that's lovely. And having known, I still am pleased, but I'm not like as excited as I was. You know what I mean? So maybe it just needs to take it out for a few days. But anyway, so garter stitch, I tend not to like to block out garter stitch, not just because I'm lazy, but also because I like it to retain its floofiness. And when you block it out really severely with like, if you really stretch it out, you wet block it, it will lose the garter, what I consider to be the essence of the garter stitch. So what I've done in the past is pin them to my ironing board, like get them wet, press out water, and then pin them to my ironing board. Because usually they're also, like this is very long. This is rather wide. It has a big wingspan. So it doesn't easily like go across the back of the futon, which is where I block a lot of stuff. Shush. So instead of the ironing board, I came up with this idea. And I'm not saying that I invented this idea. I'm sure somebody else has done it before, but it was parallelly invented. Yeah, parallelly is totally a word. I invented it on my own, but I'm not saying that I'm the only person who thought of this. So this big white thing is what's called a gull wing clothes dryer. If you don't have one, they're awesome. And then I just used clothespins and pinned it around the top. The weight of the shawl is enough to stretch it out a little bit, but not make it super flat. And it takes about 2 minutes to block it out. Woo! I'm pro 2-minute blocking. So yeah, that's my tip of the week. So you'll see, it doesn't, like you could pin this out and you would get much more defined scallopiness, but that's A, not really what I wanted, and B, I also just kind of wanted this to be done. So ta-da! It's done. Fabulous. Next thing. Okay. Knitting works in progress. What are we at? We're at 30 minutes already? I have the biggest mouth in the world. I'm not going to show you my Irish coffee again because I'll talk about that next week. Right? I will show you this because you haven't seen this before. This is a new to me self-striping. It's by Coloring Book yarns, and she is on Etsy. This is her fingering weight, which is 438 yards for 100 grams. It's 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 5% stellina. And this is her colorway, Lumpy Space Princess. Are you a Lumpy Space Princess? It actually refers to a character in an animated show called Adventure Time. I don't know if you've ever seen that. I do not endorse that show, but I will admit to having seen at least an entire season of it because I just can't figure it out. It's an odd one. So this is Lumpy Space Princess. And the reason I really liked it was because of the unique striping pattern. You have a wide stripe and then you have these little narrow ones. And I have really liked that. I don't usually knit this color at all, but I thought it was festive. So there. And I'm just doing a plain old afterthought sock on 00s. These are, I haven't talked about these needles yet. These are the Addy Turbo Sock Rockets. I think that's right. There's two fast words in there, right? There's turbo and rocket. I think that's right. I actually like these. I prefer a firmer cable. Like I really like the Chalgu red lace cable. This is a very floppy cable, which normally I do not like. Like the Haya cable, I'm like, ugh. However, I think because this being the 00s, because I have also bought a pair of 0s and the cord is thicker on the 0s. I think it's because it's such a small gauge needle, it has to be pretty small. But I actually really like these. I think the reason I didn't like my Hayas with the floppy cable is because I had a 40-inch cable and really I need 32s for socks. But they didn't have a 32 and I bought the 40 thinking, that'll be fine. It's not fine. I do not like a floppy cable of 40-inch needle on socks. But 32 is okay. I'm getting more used to it. Because I really like the join. It's a flat, it's a straight, it's not a bent join. I like the needles. They're very lightweight. They're very nice finish. They're not super pointy. They're not super pointy, but they're plenty pointy enough. I don't do a lot of like cabling socks. Okay, I do no cabling socks, so it's not a huge importance to me. But I think I kind of like them. And I do like the bigger sizes. I think I like them. I think I like these. Very hard to find the 00s. So I am pleased. I would definitely buy another pair. Is that all I need to say? Yes, I think so. But anyway, coloring book yarns. How cute is that? There's also, oh, what is the vampire girl's name? I may have also bought another skein. It's the vampire girl, I can't remember her name. But anyway, it's like it's similar, but it has reds and grays and blacks. It's very cute. Okay, so I think that will be all for knitting and spinning this week. I know it doesn't look like much for knitting, but I did work on my sweater quite a bit, and oh, this shit is plenty. I was all feeling bad. Hi, I finished this thing. It was totally not near being finished. I had not even started the feather and fan, and it's a long shawl. So it's a lot of bind off yo, and a lot of feather and fan. So don't judge me. I did fine. Okay, so let's do mailbag. So where I'm getting these questions, if you're a newer viewer, is a while back for the 2,000 members, we did a prize thread in which I asked for questions. And so I believe I have not skipped anybody. If I have, feel free to yell at me, but nicely, please. Okay, so that's too far. I was right on it. I skipped it. I'm so sorry. Okay, really. I had it. Where is it now? La 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 la. Oh my lord, this is uncomfortable for everybody involved. That's right. Here we go. Sorry about that. Post number 10 is by Rar Prouts. Rar Prouts. And she asks, what videos really helped you learn to draft your fiber? I know you've said that you're primarily self-taught, so I'm hoping you hit up YouTube. Yes. And then she told me she loved my face. Thanks. What I primarily used, I did do a lot of YouTube viewing, but I don't remember specifically one being like, yes, that is it. However, I did also purchase this item, which currently is on super cheap sale through the Interweave Press store. And it is called Drafting the Long and Short of It. The video is by Abby Frankenmount, who is, of course, super famous style. And it's currently on sale for $5.99 in the Interweave store. So it's only $14.95. It's a download, I believe. Let's see, how long is it? You can do a sample if you're not sure, but I liked it. I think I also did the I borrowed from my library the DVD of that. The cover of the book is like a yarn bowl. That's super helpful for you, right? But anyway, Drafting the Long and Short of It. I think that was the one I enjoyed the most. Or that I got them, what I think back on as what was the most helpful for me. So I thought it was easy to see and everything like that. And yeah, they have a lot of their digital stuff is on like super sale. Okay, I'm not gonna go through because but anyway, so that's the one I primarily remember. But really, you just gotta be willing to mess up. That's all there is to it. You're learning a new thing. It's not even just a new thing like, oh, I'm learning about cosmic wave interference this week. It's not just like learning a new thing. It's learning a new thing. So there's all this like factual and technical information. And I mean technical as in like, I don't mean like, whatever. There's not like, it's not just mental information. There is physical like there's a physical new skill that you are learning. Oh my gosh, my battery is totally gonna run out on this camera. Okay, sorry about that. What I was saying about spinning is you just have to let yourself not be good at it for a while. Because not only are you learning something new up here, you're learning something new from this part down. Now, as an adult, that doesn't happen very often anymore. Really? Like when you think about it, like when was the last time you learned something new from here down? It's not often. Okay? So just gotta let yourself mess up. Because you're gonna mess up. If you don't, we all think we're gonna be prodigies, right? We all think secretly. Shh. I'm gonna pick up this spinning wheel or this drop spindle. And I'm gonna pick up this fiber and I'm just gonna rock it. That doesn't really happen. And don't be upset, because if you're the person that actually happens for, we'll be happy for you, but secretly we'll be a little bit like, okay? So if you're not that person, you're just one of the rest of us. Join the community. So that's my recommendation. You just gotta find something that feels right to you. If it's not what is shown on any one of 9,000 different videos you look at, that's okay. If you can make some string and you like the string you make, you're doing it fine. Period. Okay. So, next question is, and there were many questions about touring the stash not happening. This is in Ben's, not exciting. La la la, la la la, la 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 la. There was another question about baking, and why am I not seeing it? I really did look before. There we go. I really did research before. So Hungry Tree asks, what are your top 5 suggestions related to baking? Oh, I didn't see that there were 5 specifically. I'm very new to baking. Do I need to try certain brands or certain techniques? Any advice for a newbie baker that wants to learn? Baking is a science. It is not cooking. It is not. I am actually not. I am okay at cooking because I do enjoy eating. But whoo, that was bad. But I prefer baking because, much like knitting, is artistic within a restraint. Like, it is the sonnet of the art world, right? Like, you have well, some of us have constraints. Some of us have none. But most of us have constraints of some sort or another. We'd like a garment that fits. We'd like something that's functional. You know. So it is like creating some sort of art and something that's individual to you, but within these constraints, which I really enjoy. And for me, baking is the same way. Cooking is less so to me. It's a little scarier. A little bit loose and free, which I don't enjoy. Baking, however, is a science. So my main suggestions on baking is, if you're a new baker, is don't bake from the internet. Unless you're baking like from King Arthur, you know, but don't bake from like allrecipes.com or Joe Schmo's blog. Just don't. You can do that, but don't expect anything to be good. Frankly. Because a lot of those things, like if you look at all recipes and there's a 5-star snickerdoodle recipe, which by the way, I do use the snickerdoodle recipe from All Recipes. It's like Aunt Sig's snickerdoodles. That's a quality recipe. But oftentimes if you look, there's like 5 stars and you're like, oh, this is gonna be great. And then if you start reading reviews, there's like 75 different ways people have modified it and still gave it 5 stars. No. Or they've given it 2 stars, but it's because they substituted cornstarch for corn syrup or something completely ridiculous. Which also makes me crazy. Okay, so don't. Like, once you're experienced, fine, do that. I do it all the time, but like, I know. Like, if it says it needs a tablespoon of salt, I can be like, wait a minute, what? That should be a teaspoon. You know what I mean? So when you start, use a book. Or use King Arthur flour. But use a book. Books are good. So my recommendations for baking and pretty much everything in life are the America's Test Kitchen. This one is a binder. I like it. The recipes are fine. I've never made anything bad from this. Except the snickerdoodles. I don't like America's Test Kitchen snickerdoodle. They like them too tangy. What do I talk about? Oh, but the only thing I don't like about the binder recipe pages is they get stuck together. What seems to me more readily than the books. With like a matte finish. It's the glossy finish. These are very glossy. By the way, love this biscuit recipe. The best buttermilk biscuits. Yes. It doesn't require you to have buttermilk on hand. Just saying. Buttermilk powder. It's exciting. And not made up. It's a real thing. It's not made of chemicals. But anyway, so this is a great recipe book. I don't know. It's a binder. It's very convenient when you're cooking because it opens and lays flat. But if you're me and it looks like a, what was it? My friend's husband at one point said, and she's even worse than I am when she cooks, but he said that when he walked into the kitchen one day and said, it looks like you were attacked by ninjas and had to defend yourself with food. If you're that person, that's me. It's a little icy. I also have one that looks like this. This is, I think, the newest one that they have. There's a lot of overlap, so don't get both if you're just starting out. There's also a really good book called Weeknd Baker. So if you're like a single person or just like part of a 2-person household and you don't bake because it's always like 24 muffins, it's a great book called The Weeknd Baker, and she does like, the recipe has like 6 muffins. I mean, you can always scale down, but when you're new, that might be a little scary. If you like bread, but you don't necessarily have the time, the Bread Machine Cookbook. This is the only bread machine cookbook you should ever buy. All the other ones, I don't trust them. This one, very good quality. Never made something in here that didn't turn out. I don't actually bake bread in my bread machine, but like if I'm in a If I'm like not sure how my day is going to progress and I'm not sure, because you can like overproof your bread and it will not turn out like you hope it does, something. So this is really great because I don't bake in my bread machine because it gives it a very thick crust and I do not like that. But I can mix it and proof it in the bread machine, put it on the dough cycle, and then it'll hold it there for a little bit longer if I need it to. Then I just form it and bake it in my oven. This is a great cookbook. Bread. Now this is a little bit more intense. This is more like if you're like, maybe I should have a levain. Maybe I should know what a starter is. Maybe I should know what a poolish is. Maybe I'll make my own sourdough culture. This is good for you. Peter Reinhardt, everybody. I mean, there's lots of great books. But anyway, that's what I'm saying is start with good information. The America's Test Kitchen has great information about like actual processes for cooking, like for baking. Like what does it mean? And it has pictures. Like what does it, that's one of the things I think that's one of the things the binder does better than perhaps one of the standard cookbooks. It feels like it has more, like what does it look like when the egg whites are whipped versus not whipped? You know what I mean? Like stiff peaks versus soft peaks, that kind of stuff. Knowing when brownies and blondies are done. You know, so it has more how to put a graham cracker crust in a pan. It seems like it has more how-to information. Do you know what I mean? Like it has, like see, for example, on the raspberry streusel bars, it has little things like this. So it has like a visual component, which is helpful when you're new. So that's my number one thing. My number two thing. Follow what the number one thing says to do. Don't go in there and start improvising. No. No improvising. If you don't have all the things it needs to make it, just don't make it. Make something else. Don't. Number three. I was not organizing at 5. It was really just going to be 2. But number 3 is in the ether. I just had it in my face. Now it's in the ether. Really, people? Oh, number 3 is check your baking soda and your baking powder. Baking soda, I don't believe, would expire. But if you don't bake frequently, you probably need new baking powder. Also, so that's number 3. Number 4, have all of the measuring devices in the world in your kitchen. Have a kitchen scale. They're awesome. If you don't have one, you don't have to have one. Like if you're like, I'm only going to bake once every 6 months. Don't buy a kitchen scale, you're fine. Although you need one for yarn, so just get one, people. They're like $20. Shush. But also a ruler. Because the biscuit recipe says to roll your biscuits to 1 inch thick. You never really know what that looks like. Because you're looking like on your counter like this and you're like, that looks like 1 inch. And then you measure it and it's like 1/2 inch. And so then you think, why are my biscuits so flat? Well, because the recipe said to do it to 1 inch. So number 4. But that also relates to number 2, follow the recipe. Number 5, have low expectations. You're learning something new. You're gonna mess it up. Don't make a cake based on egg white leavening right out of the gates. You know what I mean? Like just dial it back for yourself. Make some blondies. Don't do anything that has a weird technique that you're not familiar with. And what I mean by, like there are some cakes that are leavened only with egg whites. So you beat the egg whites and then you very gently fold in those are a little bit advanced. Use something that is more, like for example, in the America's Test Kitchen, they have they have a few recipes usually at the beginning of each like section that will say great for beginners. So start with those. They're not going to have as advanced techniques. You're more likely to be successful. All right, that was my completely unorganized 5. Anyway, that'll be all. I hope you have a lovely week, and I will text you next time. Bye!